What if I told you that your entire life, every success, every failure, every relationship, every bank account balance, every person who loves you or rejects you, it was nothing more than a perfect reflection of your inner assumptions? What if everything you've been taught about how reality works was not just wrong, but deliberately backwards? What if the greatest lie ever told wasn't about politics or religion or history, but about the very nature of your own power? You've been living under the most sophisticated deception in human history, the lie that you are separate from your world, the lie that circumstances create your feelings, the lie that you must wait for external conditions to change before you can feel the way you want to feel. The lie that manifestation is about attracting things from outside yourself. The lie that you are the victim of forces beyond your control. But here's what mystic Neville Goddard discovered over 8 decades ago, and what quantum physics is now proving in laboratories around the world. You are not the victim of your circumstances. You are the author of them. Every single thing in your external world, every person, every situation, every opportunity, every obstacle is your inner world pushed out. Your imagination, not your logic, not your effort, not your struggle, not your pleading with the universe, is the creative power that shapes every molecule of your reality. Einstein showed us that mass and energy are 2 expressions of the same fundamental substance, but Goddard went infinitely further. Consciousness and matter are 2 expressions of the same divine imagination. The world you see is not happening to you. It's happening through you. And the moment you truly grasp this, not intellectually, not as a nice idea, but experientially in the core of your being, everything changes. The question isn't whether this is possible. Thousands of people have proven it works. The question is, how long will you continue pretending to be powerless over the very reality you're creating every moment of every day? How many more years will you spend struggling against a world that is literally reflecting your own assumptions back to you? Right now, as you listen to these words, you're standing at the edge of the greatest discovery of your life. You're about to learn that reality isn't what you think it is, that your mind holds a force so powerful it can rewrite your future, bend circumstances to your will, and turn you into an unstoppable force of creation. But you've been deliberately kept in the dark about this power. Top secret research, quantum physics, and ancient knowledge that's been hidden for centuries all prove the same truth. Your thoughts are not just ideas floating around in your head. They are energy waves actively shaping the world around you in real time. And here's the kicker that changes everything. 99% of people are unconsciously programmed to weaken themselves. They unknowingly drain their own power, sabotage their potential, and live their entire lives at a fraction of what they're truly capable of. But today, right now, you are breaking free from that programming. In the next few minutes, you will learn the exact method to take control of this hidden force that the most powerful people in history have used to manipulate reality at will. This isn't self-help. This isn't positive thinking. This is quantum proof, backed by cutting-edge science and ancient wisdom. By the end of this, you will know how to override the mental programming that keeps you weak, activate the hidden part of your mind they never wanted you to access, and shift into a level of power that most people will never experience. This is not a theory. This is a system. And once you see it, there's no going back. If you feel like you were born for something bigger, like there's an untapped force inside you waiting to be unlocked, this is your moment. But be warned, once you open this door, you can never unsee what's inside. Once you realize the truth about your creative power, you can never go back to playing small. Are you ready? Then let's begin. Most people believe that reality is fixed, that life is something that happens to them and that their circumstances are beyond their control. But this is one of the biggest lies ever told. Quantum physics has already proven that your mind is not just reacting to reality, it's creating it. In the famous double-slit experiment, scientists discovered something that should terrify and liberate you at the same time. Particles change their behavior depending on whether they are being observed. Think about that for a second. This means that the act of observing something actually changes what it is. If a particle, a fundamental building block of reality, can be influenced by consciousness, what does that mean for your thoughts, your emotions, and the energy you send out every day? It means that your focus literally shapes the world around you. It means that reality is not fixed, but fluid, constantly responding to the observer. Now here's where things get even more mind-bending. You've probably heard of Schrödinger's cat, but most people don't realize how deeply it applies to their own lives. In this thought experiment, a cat is placed in a box with a radioactive atom. The atom could decay and kill the cat, or it might not. According to quantum mechanics, the cat is technically both alive and dead at the same time until someone opens the box and looks inside. This proves something that will change how you see everything. Until a decision is made, until reality is observed, everything exists as a wave of infinite possibilities. What does this mean for you? It means that right now, every possible version of your life already exists. The wealthy you, the confident you, the successful you, the version of you that has already mastered energy control, the version that's deeply loved and appreciated. All of those realities are waiting for you to choose them. But here's the problem. Most people never do choose. They are stuck observing the same version of reality over and over again, like a broken record, never realizing they have the power to change the station. They wake up every morning and assume the same limitations, feel the same emotions, think the same thoughts, and wonder why nothing ever changes. But not after today. Right now, let's prove to yourself that you already have control over your reality. I want you to follow these steps exactly as I give them to you. Don't just listen. Actually do this. Step 1. Pick one area of your life where you feel stuck. It could be money, love, health, success, confidence, your career, your relationships, anything where you feel limited. Step 2. Write down, either mentally or on paper, how you currently perceive it. For example, I struggle with money, or I can't find love, or I'm not confident enough. Step 3, write down the exact opposite version of this reality. For example, money flows to me effortlessly, or I am deeply loved and cherished, or I radiate unshakable confidence. Step 4, for the next 60 seconds, I want you to close your eyes and visualize yourself in that new reality. Don't just see it. Feel the emotions as if it's already true. Let it sink into your subconscious. Feel what it's like to be that person. Notice how differently you walk, talk, and move through the world. Do this now. I'll wait. Reflect on what just happened. For the past 60 seconds, you shifted your focus, which means you shifted the energy around you. If you keep repeating this daily, your reality will begin to physically change. This is how energy control begins. But this is just the first step. Forget everything you think you know about manifestation. Forget vision boards and wishful thinking and begging the universe for scraps. Neville Goddard revealed the most radical truth ever spoken. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. More precisely, you experience what you assume to be true about yourself and your world. This isn't metaphor. This isn't philosophy. This is the operational law of consciousness itself. Modern quantum mechanics has revealed that the observer fundamentally alters what is observed. The very act of measurement collapses infinite possibilities into a single experienced reality. But consciousness was collapsing possibilities long before physicists had instruments to measure it. Every assumption you hold, every state of mind you inhabit, every feeling you accept as natural, these are acts of observation that determine which version of reality becomes your experience. Not because the universe wants to please you, but because there is no separation between your consciousness and the world you perceive. Your outer world is literally your inner world made manifest. Goddard called this the law of assumption. Whatever you assume to be true about yourself, others, and the world must externalize itself as your experience. Not because of some cosmic law of attraction, but because there is no difference between consciousness and matter. They are the same substance appearing in different forms. Think about this for a moment. Right now, as you're processing these words, you're operating from thousands of assumptions. You assume you're the same person who woke up this morning. You assume your problems are real and solid. You assume your limitations are facts about reality. You assume your current circumstances define what's possible for you. You assume that changing your life requires changing external conditions first. But what if every single one of these assumptions is optional? What if they're not truths about reality, but instructions you're unconsciously giving to the creative power of your own imagination? What if your entire life experience is nothing more than your assumptions hardened into fact? Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that when we combine clear intention with elevated emotion, we begin to broadcast a new electromagnetic signature that literally changes our biology and attracts different circumstances. But this is exactly what Goddard taught 70 years earlier. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and sustain that assumption until it hardens into fact, you literally reprogram the quantum field of possibilities that surrounds you. The quantum field doesn't care about your current circumstances. It doesn't know whether you're rich or poor, loved or lonely, successful or struggling. It only responds to the frequency of consciousness you're broadcasting moment by moment. And consciousness, according to Goddard, is simply your I amness, your sense of being. Whatever follows I am in your inner conversations, whatever emotional states you identify with, whatever you accept as natural about yourself, this is your creative power in action. You are not trying to become something. You are always being something. The question is, what are you choosing to be? Most people have been conditioned to believe that thoughts are just ideas trapped inside their heads. But this is completely false. Thoughts are not passive. They are real forces of energy that actively interact with the world around you. Your mind isn't just processing internal experiences, it's broadcasting energetic signals into the quantum field, shaping reality in ways you've never been taught to understand. Science has now confirmed that your brain functions like a quantum computer capable of processing millions of energetic calculations per second. And here's where things get even more shocking. Your thoughts don't just exist in your brain. They extend beyond your body into the very structure of reality itself. You are already influencing the world around you at the quantum level, whether you realize it or not. Inside your neurons, scientists have discovered microtubules, tiny tube-like structures that seem to operate as quantum processors. According to physicist Sir Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Dr. Stuart Hameroff, these microtubules allow your brain to function as a biological quantum computer, meaning your subconscious mind is directly altering quantum waves in the universe. Your thoughts are sending out measurable electromagnetic frequencies that ripple outward from your body. You are already connected to the entire field of reality. You just haven't been trained to use it deliberately. This is why people who consciously reprogram their minds, who focus on success, abundance, and confidence begin to see their lives transform. It's not luck. It's not coincidence. It's quantum mechanics in action. The moment you shift your dominant thoughts and emotions, your energy field changes, and reality has no choice but to reorganize itself around you. But here's the part no one tells you. Manifestation is not just about thinking. It's about feeling. The biggest mistake people make is focusing on what they want while still emotionally attached to their current limitations. If you desire wealth but feel scarcity, you are still vibrating at the frequency of lack. If you dream of confidence but still feel self-doubt, you are broadcasting uncertainty. If you want love but feel unworthy, you're assuming the state of rejection. The secret that changes everything is this: you must feel the reality you want before it exists. If you can train yourself to emotionally embody the outcome you desire, whether it's wealth, power, success, or deep influence, then your energy field shifts instantly, pulling that reality toward you like a magnet. This is not visualization. This is not positive thinking. This is assumption hardening into fact. The greatest scientists of our time are beginning to echo what mystics have always known. Consciousness is not produced by the brain. Consciousness is the fundamental reality from which everything else emerges. Dr. Bruce Lipton's research on epigenetics proves that our beliefs literally rewrite our genetic expression. But Goddard went further. Our assumptions don't just change our biology. They change the very fabric of space and time around us. When you truly assume a new state of being, you don't just feel different. The world begins to conform to your new assumption. Rupert Sheldrake's morphic resonance theory suggests that nature has memory, that patterns of organization are transmitted across space and time through fields of information. This is remarkably similar to Goddard's teaching that every state of consciousness already exists in the infinite imagination of God, and we tune into these states through our assumptions. But here's where science and mysticism converge into something extraordinary. The quantum field of infinite possibilities that physicists describe is the same field of imagination that Goddard mapped in consciousness. Every possible version of your life, every career, every relationship, every level of health and wealth exists now as a probability wave in this field. Schrödinger's famous thought experiment revealed that particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. Your life exists in multiple states simultaneously until you choose which one to observe through your assumptions. The version of yourself that's struggling financially and the version that's abundantly wealthy both exist right now in the quantum field of possibilities. The difference between these versions isn't time. It's not effort. It's not luck or circumstances or cosmic timing. The difference is simply which state of consciousness you're habitually occupying. When you assume you are wealthy, not hope to become wealthy, not try to attract wealth, but assume the natural state of being wealthy, you collapse the probability wave of abundant reality into your experience. This isn't wishful thinking. This is operational physics applied to consciousness. Goddard called these different versions of yourself states. States are not moods or temporary feelings. States are entire worlds of experience, complete with their own thoughts, feelings, and circumstances. When you move from the state of lack to the state of abundance, you literally move to a different dimension of experience. The mystics call this traveling between worlds. Quantum physicists call it navigating parallel realities. Goddard called it simply changing your assumptions. Whatever name you prefer, the mechanism is identical. Consciousness determines reality, not the other way around. Right now, as you listen to this, you're shaping reality in ways you've never been told. Every thought you have, every emotion you feel, every belief you reinforce is actively reshaping your future. But here's the problem. No one has ever taught you how to control it. Most people go through life completely unaware that they are constantly transmitting energy into the quantum field. They think their thoughts stay locked inside their heads. They assume their emotions are private. But science has already proven beyond any doubt that your thoughts, emotions, and even your heartbeat are generating electromagnetic waves that extend beyond your body, influencing people, circumstances, and even your future before it happens. This isn't just theory. Some of the most groundbreaking minds in science have confirmed what ancient civilizations have known for centuries. You are not separate from reality. You are creating it with every single moment of focus. Dr. Joe Dispenza has demonstrated that your thoughts literally rewire your brain, restructuring neural pathways and altering your physical state. Dr. Bruce Lipton has proven that your perception controls your DNA, meaning your beliefs don't just change your mindset, they alter your biology. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's morphic field theory shows that human consciousness is like an interconnected energy web, allowing us to influence each other in ways most people can't even comprehend. And Dr. Amit Goswami has shown that consciousness itself is the fundamental force shaping the universe, meaning your awareness alone dictates what you attract into your life. So what does this actually mean for you? It means that every single moment you're either programming your energy to pull in the life you desire, or you are unconsciously pushing it away. Every negative thought, every moment of doubt, every time you replay a limiting belief in your mind, you are locking yourself deeper into a reality you don't want. And yet 99% of people will never escape this loop, not because they don't have the power, but because they have never been shown how to use it. But right now, you are about to become the exception. The secret that separates those who consciously create their reality from those who stay stuck is energy mastery, the ability to control your internal state so powerfully that reality itself has no choice but to shift around you. And the key to mastering this lies in understanding something that will blow your mind: your heart's electromagnetic field. For your entire life, you've been told that the brain is the most powerful organ in your body. But that is completely false. Your heart, yes, the organ beating in your chest right now, has been scientifically proven to generate an electromagnetic field 5,000 times stronger than your brain's. That means your emotions carry more power than your thoughts alone. This is why when you feel confident, grateful, or powerful, everything starts to flow effortlessly. And this is also why when you feel fearful, doubtful, or anxious, everything seems to go wrong at once. The HeartMath Institute discovered that when you enter a state of heart-brain coherence, a state where your emotions and thoughts are in perfect alignment, your entire electromagnetic field expands. In this state, your body, mind, and external reality begin to synchronize, making your manifestations exponentially stronger. But here's where things get truly mind-blowing. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake's research has already proven that human brains can become quantum entangled, which means that two people's energy fields can literally sync up, even across vast distances. This explains why you think about someone and suddenly they call or text you, why you walk into a room and immediately sense the energy of the people inside, why you have a gut instinct about something and it turns out to be right. These aren't random coincidences. These are real, measurable energy transmissions happening between you and the people around you. So what does this mean? It means that your energy is not just influencing your own life, it's actively shaping the world around you. It means that your thoughts and emotions are being picked up by others before you even say a word. It means that the opportunities, the relationships, and even the money you attract are being directly influenced by the frequency you are broadcasting at every second of the day. If you are stuck in doubt, fear, and limitation, your energy field is in a low frequency state, and you are repelling the very things you desire. But the moment you learn how to shift into confidence, certainty, and gratitude, your energy expands, your reality reorganizes, and you begin pulling in exactly what you want. This is why people who master energy control move through life effortlessly, while those who remain unaware continue struggling, waiting for something external to change before they give themselves permission to feel good. But the truth is, you don't need to wait for anything. You have the power to shift your energy right now, and once you do, everything changes. Now we arrive at the heart of Goddard's teaching, the technique that transforms understanding into experience. Feeling is the secret, not emotion, not excitement, not positive thinking. Feeling, the deep, wordless knowing of what it's like to be the person who already has what you want. This is what Goddard called the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Most people approach manifestation backwards. They look at their current circumstances, feel the absence of what they want, and then try to think their way to a different reality. But thought without feeling is sterile. It changes nothing because it assumes nothing. It's merely intellectual entertainment that keeps you stuck in the same loop. Real change happens when you dare to assume the state of already being what you want to become. When you close your eyes and feel what it would be like if your wish were already fulfilled, not as a fantasy, but as a present tense reality. When you inhabit that state so completely that it feels more natural than your current circumstances. This is not pretending. This is not positive thinking. This is assumption hardening into fact. Here's what most people miss. Every state of consciousness has its own natural feeling tone. The state of being wealthy feels different from the state of being poor. The state of being loved feels different from the state of being lonely. The state of being healthy feels different from the state of being sick. The state of being successful feels different from the state of being stuck. When you learn to identify and sustain the feeling tone of your desired state, you automatically begin to think the thoughts, make the decisions, and take the actions that belong to that state. More importantly, you begin to perceive opportunities and possibilities that were always there but invisible from your previous state of consciousness. Goddard taught that assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is the most practical spiritual truth ever revealed. You don't need to believe your assumption is true. You don't need to have evidence that it's possible. You don't need permission from anyone else. You simply need to persistently assume it until your entire nervous system accepts it as natural. Neuroscience confirms this ancient wisdom. When you repeatedly imagine an experience with sufficient detail and emotion, your brain literally cannot distinguish between the imagined experience and a real one. Neural pathways fire in the same patterns. The same neurotransmitters are released. Your body responds as if the experience were happening now. But Goddard's insight goes deeper than neuroscience. When you assume a new state of being and sustain it with feeling, you don't just change your internal experience, you change your relationship to the quantum field of possibilities. You begin to attract circumstances, people, and opportunities that match your new assumption. This is why feeling is the secret. Feeling is the bridge between consciousness and matter. Feeling is how imagination impresses itself upon the physical world. Feeling is the creative power that hardens your assumptions into facts. Let me give you a practical example. If you want to manifest wealth, you don't visualize money coming to you. You don't imagine winning the lottery or getting a raise. Instead, you imagine the feeling of already being wealthy. You feel what it's like to wake up every morning knowing that money is not a concern. You feel the security, the freedom, the peace of mind that comes with financial abundance. You let that feeling saturate every cell of your body until it becomes more real than your current bank account balance. You walk through your day from that feeling. You make decisions from that feeling. You interact with people from that feeling. And gradually, as you persist in this assumption, your external world begins to conform to your internal state. This is not wishful thinking. This is applied quantum mechanics. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you are literally tuning your consciousness to a different frequency in the quantum field. And just like a radio can only receive stations it's tuned to, you can only experience realities that match your dominant frequency. Knowing these principles intellectually changes nothing. Application is everything. Goddard didn't teach theory, he taught technique. Here are the specific practices that will transform your understanding into lived experience, that will take you from knowing about your power to wielding it with precision and certainty. The most powerful technique Goddard ever taught is what he called assuming the end. Instead of focusing on how your desire will come to pass, you imagine it has already come to pass. You construct a short scene that implies your wish is fulfilled, and you loop this scene in your imagination until it feels natural, until it feels more real than your current circumstances. But here's the key that most people miss. You don't imagine yourself getting what you want. You imagine yourself already having it. You don't visualize the promotion. You visualize colleagues congratulating you on your success 6 months after you received it. You don't imagine meeting your soulmate. You imagine the feeling of being deeply loved and appreciated by someone who already adores you. You don't visualize money coming to you. You imagine the natural feeling of financial security and abundance, like checking your bank account and feeling completely at peace with what you see. This distinction is crucial because when you imagine getting something, you're operating from the assumption that you don't have it. But when you imagine already having it, you're operating from the assumption that it's yours. An assumption is the only creative power. Start each day by spending 10 to 15 minutes in what Goddard called the silence. Not meditation as escape from the world, but meditation as entry into the reality you're creating. Find a comfortable position, relax your body completely, close your eyes, and dare to assume that your most cherished desire has already been fulfilled. Don't try to figure out how it happened. Don't worry about the logical steps. Simply feel what it's like to live from that assumption. Notice how differently you move through the world when you know, not hope, but know that you are the person who has what you want. Let this feeling saturate every cell of your body until it becomes more real than your current circumstances. Feel the relief, feel the gratitude, feel the quiet confidence that comes from knowing your desire is already yours in consciousness and therefore must manifest in experience. This isn't pretending, this is conscious assumption. You're not trying to convince yourself that something false is true. You're choosing to live from the assumption that what you want is already yours in consciousness, and therefore must externalize itself in your world. Throughout the day, practice what Goddard called the mental diet. Monitor your inner conversations like a guard watches a gate. Notice the assumptions embedded in your self-talk. When you catch yourself thinking from the old state, the state of lack or limitation or unworthiness, gently redirect your consciousness back to the state of the wish fulfilled. This isn't forced positive thinking. This isn't denying your current circumstances. This is conscious assumption. You're training your mind to dwell in the state you want to experience rather than the state you're currently experiencing. Remember, your current circumstances are just the outward expression of your previous assumptions. They have no power to determine your future unless you continue assuming they're permanent. The most transformative practice Goddard taught is revision. Each night before sleep, review your day. But instead of simply remembering what happened, revise any experiences that didn't match your desired state. If someone was rude to you, revise the interaction in your imagination until they were kind and respectful. If you felt rejected, revise the experience until you felt accepted and valued. If you experienced lack, revise it until you experienced abundance. This isn't denial of reality. This is conscious participation in creating reality. Every time you revise an experience in your imagination, you're literally rewriting the quantum information that determines your future experiences. You're training your consciousness to expect and recognize the patterns that match your desires. The power of revision lies in this truth. Imagination, when coupled with feeling, is more real than fact. When you repeatedly imagine revised versions of your experiences, you begin to attract circumstances that match these revised patterns. You literally rewrite your past to create a different future. Here's a specific revision technique that will change your life. Every night before you fall asleep, think of one experience from your day that you wish had gone differently. It could be a conversation, a meeting, an interaction, or even just a moment when you felt less than your ideal self. Now, in your imagination, replay that experience exactly as you wish it had occurred. Don't just change the external circumstances, change how you felt, how you responded, how you carried yourself. See yourself as the confident, powerful, abundant person you're becoming. Feel the emotions you wish you had felt. Make the revision so vivid and real that it feels like a memory of something that actually happened. As you fall asleep with this revised experience in your mind, you're impressing your subconscious with the pattern you want to experience more of. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between what you've experienced and what you vividly imagined. It simply accepts whatever you consistently impress upon it as the pattern to create more of. Remember, every night as you fall asleep, your consciousness is most impressionable. The state you fall asleep in determines not just the dreams you have, but more importantly, the reality you wake up to. Use this liminal moment to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Fall asleep knowing that you are already the person you want to become. But here's where most people fail. They practice these techniques inconsistently. They do it when they remember, when they feel motivated, when things are going well. But transformation requires what Goddard called persistent assumption. Not occasional visualization, not weekend workshops, not hoping and wishing when you remember to do so. Persistent assumption means occupying your desired state so consistently that it becomes your natural dwelling place. It means assuming your wish is fulfilled even when circumstances suggest otherwise. It means maintaining your new state of consciousness regardless of what your senses are telling you about your current reality. This requires what modern neuroscience calls neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new neural pathways and abandon old ones. But Goddard understood this principle long before neuroscientists had names for it. He called it dying to the old man and being reborn as the new. Every time you assume your desired state, you strengthen the neural pathways associated with that state. Every time you return to old patterns of thinking and feeling, you reinforce the neural networks that create your current reality. Transformation happens when the new patterns become stronger than the old ones. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that it takes approximately 66 days of consistent practice to install a new neural program. But Goddard's approach is more sophisticated than mere repetition. He taught that one moment of truly fulfilled assumption, one experience of completely inhabiting your desired state, can transform your entire life. The key is emotional conviction. When you assume your desired state with sufficient feeling, you create what neuroplasticity researchers call state-dependent learning. Your entire nervous system reorganizes around the new assumption. Suddenly, thoughts and behaviors that seemed impossible become natural. Opportunities that were invisible become obvious. This is why Goddard emphasized the importance of living in the end. You don't practice your desired state as preparation for someday becoming that person. You become that person now in consciousness, and let the external world catch up to your internal transformation. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly assume the feeling of being successful, wealthy, loved, or healthy, you literally rewire your neural networks to support these states. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters information, begins to notice opportunities and resources that support your new assumption. But the transformation goes deeper than neurology. Goddard taught that when you change your fundamental assumptions about yourself, you literally move to a different dimension of experience. The people, circumstances, and opportunities available in the state of lack are different from those available in the state of abundance. This is why external circumstances often shift dramatically when someone truly changes their state of consciousness. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's the natural result of consciousness exploring different dimensions of possibility. Your outer world is your inner world pushed out. When you change your inner world through persistent assumption, your outer world must reorganize itself to match your new state of consciousness. This is law. This is physics. This is the mechanics of reality creation. But here's what separates those who succeed from those who give up. Understanding that the bridge between states is often uncomfortable. When you're transitioning from one state of consciousness to another, there's usually a period where your external circumstances haven't caught up to your internal transformation. This is where most people falter. They start assuming a new state, but when they don't see immediate external changes, they conclude it's not working and return to their old patterns. But this is like planting a seed and digging it up every day to see if it's growing. The growth is happening beneath the surface, invisible to your physical senses. Goddard taught that there's always an interval between assumption and manifestation. The length of this interval depends on the intensity of your assumption and how much resistance you have to your new state. The more natural your new assumption feels, the faster it manifests. The more you doubt or waver, the longer it takes. During this interval, you must persist in your assumption regardless of what your senses tell you. You must continue feeling from your wish fulfilled even when circumstances suggest otherwise. This is what Goddard called walking by faith, not by sight. Faith, in Goddard's teaching, is not blind belief. It's loyal assumption. It's the decision to remain faithful to your desired state regardless of temporary appearances. It's understanding that your current circumstances are just the echo of your previous assumptions, and that new assumptions will create new circumstances. This requires a level of mental discipline that most people have never developed. It requires the ability to think independently of your environment, to feel what you choose to feel rather than what circumstances dictate, to assume what you want to experience rather than what you're currently experiencing. But here's the beautiful truth. Every time you successfully maintain your assumption in the face of contradictory evidence, you grow stronger. Every time you choose your desired feeling over your circumstantial feeling, you build the muscle of conscious creation. Every time you persist in your assumption until it hardens into fact, you prove to yourself that you are the operant power in your world. Now we reach the practical mechanics of transformation. Understanding that consciousness creates reality is profound, but actually changing your consciousness, this is where most people fail. They know what to do, but lack the persistence to do it until assumption hardens into fact. Goddard taught that persistent assumption is the only creative power. This means occupying your desired state so consistently that it becomes your natural dwelling place. It means thinking from your wish fulfilled, not about your wish fulfilled. It means becoming so identified with your desired state that returning to your old state feels unnatural. Think about how you currently identify yourself. When someone asks who you are, what automatically comes to mind? Your job, your relationship status, your financial situation, your problems, your limitations. All of these are just assumptions you've held so consistently that they feel like facts about reality. But they're not facts. They're just assumptions that have hardened into experience through repetition. And if assumptions can create limitation, they can just as easily create freedom. If persistent assumption of lack can create poverty, persistent assumption of abundance can create wealth. If assuming you're unlovable can create loneliness. Assuming you're deeply loved can create beautiful relationships. The process is identical. The only difference is the content of the assumption. This is why Goddard said that imagination is the only reality. Everything else is just imagination hardened into seemingly solid form. So how do you change what feels like solid reality? You start by recognizing that it's not solid at all. It's fluid, malleable, constantly responding to your dominant assumptions. You realize that the person you think you are is just a collection of assumptions you've been unconsciously maintaining. The moment you decide to consciously assume a new identity, you begin the process of transformation. But this decision must be more than intellectual. It must be embodied. You must feel yourself to be the person you want to become, not think about becoming that person. This requires what Goddard called the art of revision, not just revising past experiences, but revising your entire concept of self. Instead of thinking, I am trying to become successful, you think, I am successful. Instead of, I want to be wealthy, you assume, I am wealthy. Instead of, I hope to find love, you feel, I am deeply loved. This shift from wanting to having, from becoming to being, from future to present, is the key to all manifestation. When you want something, you're assuming you don't have it. When you're trying to become something, you're assuming you're not it yet. But when you assume you already are and have what you desire, you begin to experience it. The physical world is incredibly faithful to consciousness. It has no choice but to mirror back whatever you consistently assume to be true about yourself and your life. This is why people who assume they're unlucky keep experiencing bad luck. This is why people who assume they're unworthy keep experiencing rejection. And this is why people who assume they're abundant keep experiencing abundance. Your external world is not creating your internal experience. Your internal experience is creating your external world. This is the fundamental reversal that changes everything. Once you grasp this, you stop trying to change your circumstances and start changing your assumptions about your circumstances. The most powerful realization you can have is this: you're not trying to get something from the world. You're not trying to convince the universe to give you what you want. You are simply choosing which version of reality to experience from the infinite possibilities that already exist in consciousness. Every possible version of your life already exists in what quantum physicists call the quantum field, and what Goddard called the infinite imagination of God. The version where you're wealthy, the version where you're deeply loved, the version where you're healthy and successful. They all exist right now as possibilities waiting to be actualized through your assumption. When you assume a new state of being, you don't create it. You select it from the infinite possibilities that already exist. You tune your consciousness to a different frequency in the field of infinite potential. And just like changing the channel on a television brings a completely different program into view, changing your assumptions brings a completely different reality into experience. This is why Goddard taught that manifestation is not about creating something new, but about becoming aware of what already exists. Your desires are not leading you towards something that doesn't exist. They're leading you toward recognition of what already is. But here's the key that most people miss. You must assume your desired state completely, not partially. You can't assume you're wealthy on Monday, poor on Tuesday, and confused on Wednesday, and expect consistent results. Assumption must be persistent, consistent, and total. This doesn't mean you can never have doubts or moments of old thinking. It means that when those moments arise, you gently redirect your consciousness back to your desired state. You treat your old thoughts like uninvited guests. You acknowledge them, but you don't let them move in. The art of assumption is the art of mental discipline. It's learning to think independently of your environment, to feel independently of your circumstances, to assume independently of your current experience. This is what separates those who consciously create their reality from those who unconsciously react to their reality. We arrive now at the ultimate truth that Goddard spent his lifetime teaching. You are not subject to the world. The world is subject to you. Everything you see, touch, taste, hear, and smell exists only as patterns of information in consciousness. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're listening to this on, the people in your life, all of these are modifications of the one consciousness that you are. They have no existence independent of your awareness of them. This isn't solipsism. This isn't denial of objective reality. This is recognition of the most fundamental fact of existence. Consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is consciousness appearing as something else. Modern physics has led us to the same conclusion. Quantum field theory reveals that what we call matter is actually crystallized patterns of energy and information. String theory suggests that the most fundamental level of reality consists of vibrating strings of pure information. Consciousness-based interpretations of quantum mechanics propose that awareness itself is the ground of being from which all phenomena emerge. Goddard intuited all of this without benefit of particle accelerators or mathematical equations. He simply looked within and recognized that his I am, his pure sense of being, was identical to the creative power that spoke the universe into existence. When you truly grasp this, not intellectually but experientially, you realize that every limitation you've experienced was self-imposed. Every problem you face was consciousness exploring what it's like to have that problem. Every desire you felt was consciousness calling you to explore new dimensions of possibility. You're not trying to get something from a world outside yourself. You are consciousness playing in the infinite garden of your own imagination. Every person in your life is you pushed out. Every circumstance is you externalized. Every desire is you calling yourself to greater expansion and expression. This understanding transforms everything. You stop trying to manipulate external conditions and start simply assuming the states you want to experience. You stop looking for validation from others and start validating yourself through your assumptions. You stop waiting for permission from the world and start giving yourself permission to be and have and do whatever you choose. The mystics throughout history have pointed to this same truth using different language. Thou art that, from the Upanishads. The kingdom of heaven is within you, from Jesus. You are the universe in ecstatic motion, from Rumi. All pointing to the same revolutionary recognition. You are not separate from the creative power of existence. You are that power exploring itself through infinite expressions. Goddard's unique contribution was making this ancient wisdom practical. He didn't just teach that you are God. He taught you how to operate as God, how to assume new states of being. how to imagine new realities into existence, how to live from the end of your desires rather than the beginning of your struggles. This is your quantum self, the aspect of your consciousness that exists beyond space and time, beyond cause and effect, beyond the limitations of physical incarnation. Your quantum self has access to every possibility that has ever existed or ever could exist. It can move between dimensions of experience as easily as you move between rooms in your house. Every night when you sleep, you demonstrate this quantum nature. In dreams, you create entire worlds populated with people and places and experiences that feel completely real. You are the dreamer, the dream, and everyone in the dream simultaneously. This is exactly how physical reality works. You are consciousness dreaming the dream of being human. But here's the crucial difference. In night dreams, you rarely realize you're dreaming. In the daydream we call physical reality, you can wake up. You can recognize that you are the dreamer. You can consciously choose what to dream next. This recognition changes everything. Problems become opportunities to explore new solutions. Relationships become mirrors reflecting your assumptions about love and worth. Money becomes a symbol of your beliefs about value and abundance. Health becomes an expression of your assumptions about vitality and wholeness. You stop being the victim of circumstances and become the conscious creator of experience. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what assumption am I holding that creates this experience? You stop trying to change the world and start changing your assumptions about the world. The sooner you claim this power, the sooner you acknowledge that you are consciousness itself appearing as a human being, the faster every area of your life begins to transform. Not because you're forcing change, but because you're finally allowing yourself to express your true nature as the creative power of existence itself. Your imagination is not separate from God's imagination. Your desires are not separate from universal will. Your consciousness is not separate from cosmic consciousness. There is only one consciousness appearing as many, and you're that consciousness having the experience of being you. This is the ultimate secret Goddard spent his lifetime revealing. You are already everything you want to become. You already have everything you want to possess. You already know everything you need to know. These are not future possibilities. They are present realities in consciousness, waiting for you to assume them into physical expression. The question that remains is simple. What are you waiting for? How long will you continue pretending to be less than you are? How many more days will you spend wishing for a different life when you have the power to assume that life right now? Your assumptions are creating your reality, whether you're conscious of them or not. The only choice you have is whether to create consciously or unconsciously, whether to assume limitation or possibility, whether to live from the end of your desires or the beginning of your fears. Everything is consciousness. Everything is imagination. Everything is you pushed out. The moment you truly understand this, not just know it, but live it, you'll realize you never needed to change the world. You only needed to change your assumptions about the world. And in that moment of recognition, everything changes. Not because the world is different, but because you finally remember who you really are, the operant power, the creative force, the consciousness in which all possibilities live and move and have their being. You are not in the world. The world is in you. Act like it, assume like it, live like it, and watch as reality bends to accommodate the truth of who you really are. You've just unlocked the blueprint for bending reality, controlling consciousness, and stepping into a level of power most people will never even glimpse. Now you stand at a crossroads. You can walk away, let this knowledge fade, and continue living in the same loop as before. Or you can take action right now and start rewiring your mind, mastering your assumptions, and becoming the architect of your own reality. If you're ready to shift your life forever, here's what to do next. Comment below with the words, I am. So I know you're serious about claiming your power as the operant force in your reality. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Help them break free from the programming that keeps them stuck. Your transformation begins the moment you decide it does. You were meant to find this knowledge. The question is, what will you do with it? Your assumptions are creating your reality right now. Make them count.